Welcome back for the first 2022 edition of Unpaid Movie Critics.com. We are very happy you're joining us in our COVID-fueled homes, and hopefully you are staying safe and everything in this random, weird time. As for not having a lot and happening in December, but there was a lot happening for us in December.
Well,
but anyway,
mostly for Mike, because Mike went home for the holidays.
And I got COVID, and it was extraordinarily fun. But right now I'm joined with a fabulous Fixel, is what we're calling her right now. She is
Today,
a purveyor of film knowledge. The woman who has cinema pouring out of her skin. The woman who says, is this a bad movie? And does it star Frank Stallone? Yes, it does. I'm still seeing it. That's who I'm with. Week 99er's own Detroit Film Critics Society member, Miss Pixel.
All right. So, Michael.
Yes.
Tell everyone where you suspect that you got COVID from.
I think I got it from a plane, to be completely frank. I know what you're going to say. I know you were going with that, but it wasn't that. I don't think I got it from Belinda Carlisle's Christmas party. I think it came from the plane. And I was at Belinda Carlisle's Christmas party, which is probably the gayest thing I said, probably in a few months. And I did just sing Lady Gaga earlier today. So, but yeah, it was really random. Not a fun experience. If you can avoid it, please do.
Do what you can to avoid it.
Do what you can. It really screwed up my whole Christmas. We ended up salvaging it, but
that's also why we're a little delayed for our start for the year, because you stayed home a little longer so you could see your sister and your niece and nephew. And
oh yeah, it was awful. I mean, the choking, I had vertigo, so I couldn't really stand very long. And thankfully, I did shower every day for the benefit of humanity and my mother and her dogs. And then it was, in the shower, you had to brace yourself because your brain, the vertigo is so hard. It was very hard to even condition my hair with the coconut milk conditioner that I had. And I'm telling you.
You have to shout out that it was coconut milk, though.
Well, it was a coconut milk charcoal conditioner, and I really enjoyed it. So I have to try to find it now.
Detoxify while you're conditioning.
Detoxify while I'm falling down in the shower with COVID.
Nice.
And then, but I had to get out of the shower dripping wet, and I'm like, oh, and I had to lay down in the bed, and then to get myself back assembled, then I had to get back up, brush your teeth, lay down again. Then you have to, it was just a whole saga of horrors. And then it was the coughing, like it would be like a 15-minute coughing, and then it was a dry cough, so you're not really throwing anything up or coughing anything up. So then your stomach is contracting, and then you want to throw up. So then you start dry heaving. It was just, and then you're weak. I mean, like I literally was laying in the couch, and I could hear my text going off, and I'm like, oh, I need to check that, but I didn't have the energy to check texts or emails or anything.
I will say, I mean, the past weekend, you say you are feeling better, but you're answering texts at about the same speed. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm getting back into the groove. I'm about 84% better.
Okay. That's good.
And I got a haircut yesterday, so that really did help.
Good.
My hair was like all everywhere. Like the sides were all pooshy, and I was like, I don't even know what's happening right now. And that's a new word for today, is pooshy.
Pushy. Okay.
But yeah, it was awful, and I don't recommend it. I'm just putting it out there. Like, attempt not to get it because it was not fun.
Right.
Thankfully, I did, and I didn't really realize the dehydration issue until late, because I was always like, when I get sick, I do this weird little concoction of mine. I do like a 7-Up, mango juice, pomegranate juice, and orange juice, just to get really vitamin C up. And like, what I didn't realize is I was so dehydrated. The juice was making me more dehydrated. And then my body was like, get the effing juice out of your system. And so then I was coughing and throwing up juice, which actually didn't taste that terrible, because, the juice kind of tastes the same going in and out. So really it wasn't that terrible, but it wasn't fun
throwing up. The stomach either, like the contraction of muscles and
or the temple headache. So you're coughing so hard, you get these headaches right here in your temple. You feel like the Tin Man with like little things on your brain, because it's like the pressure right here was so intense. And then the fevers. it was almost weird. Like every 8:45 every night, I'd get 101-degree fever, and
Wow.
it was really strange, and my body was just fighting something off. Even Scott said when I was home, he said you had a fever again the first night you were here because your body is still fighting, no
Yeah.
matter what. And my doctor told me, he's like, even though you tested negative, you're gonna have residual stuff. He's like, your body is still fighting crap off.
I have a friend that had a breakthrough infection. She went and helped a friend out for a day, and her and one of her children got it. And
Right.
she actually, she just had surgery this morning because it actually attacked her gallbladder. So she had to have her gallbladder out.
It's the
So
weirdest. It's
it
the
is
weirdest disease I've ever heard. I mean, usually things have like
a
specific
rhyme or
symptoms,
reason.
a rhyme or reason. There's no rhyme or reason here. It's like it's really affects everyone differently. Like my friend got it, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I was fine. I just had a couple little cold symptoms." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Well, go fuck yourself, bitch."
Yeah. I completely understand.
And my other friend, like I said, she got it, a different friend, and she's barely able to stand because her vertigo is worse than my vertigo. So it was just, you don't know. And she's like basically throwing up because of the vertigo.
Right.
And she doesn't have the cough. And I was like, well, the cough for me didn't start until 7 days in.
Right. And, and that's the funny thing, because you said you got there and you said, oh, you were fine. And then you said, oh, I tested positive and I feel fine. And then a couple days later, you weren't so fine.
No, well, it was really weird. So I got home on the 18th. My sister was coming in on the 24th and spending the weekend with the kids and my niece and nephew and her husband. The 19th, I just felt a little cold, or 19th or 20th, I guess I should say, probably the 20th. That night, I just felt a little cold. My mom has a doggy door, and it's cold in Kentucky, which I don't usually admit that I'm there, but whatever. And so I was like, well, maybe it's just because I'm getting the breeze, and I tend to get colds
if you get
really
chills.
fast.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, all right, I'm getting blankets and whatever, and we're just hanging out. So I didn't really think much of it. And then Wednesday, I think it kind of felt the same. It was going to get a little worse, but not like terrible. And then my mother and all of her non-dramatic was like, your sister's not going to come in unless you're going to test. And like screaming throughout the stairs, stomping around. Get your coat on. I'm like, well, let me just shower. No, you can't shower. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? Then she threw me out of the car trying to find tests. So I'm standing out on the street in the freezing cold because my mom's drama. Well, it was a whole long thing. Anyway, and so then I ended up going to urgent care. Then I canceled urgent care. We got the home test. I came home and I tested positive. My mother, in all of her wisdom, she just did this. She was just stood there and she's like she was convulsing, like, oh, I'm dying. Like, oh, you're dead. It was nice knowing you, son. And I'm like, I'm not gonna die. I just tested positive. And then she's just like, what? And I basically, I just was like, I can't handle your drama, Pat. De-escalate as opposed to over-escalate. I'm going upstairs and laying down.
I still love that you call your mom by her first name. That cracks me up every freaking time.
I'm like, listen. And so then I went upstairs and then she talked to my sister, which of course I can hear the entire conversation because my mother is louder than a freight train. She's one of those voices that's like an opera singer. So like she could be in another city and I can still hear her.
Yeah.
Like it's craziness. And so it was a fun thing, but it really wasn't that bad. It was getting slightly progressively worse. Then I tested positive and I'm like going, it's all psychosomatic. I tested positive. And it wasn't. It really wasn't. And of course, my mother in her infinite wisdom is still like, well, you're still cooking Christmas dinner. Go get the lobster. And I'm like, I have COVID, woman. You are like giving me glasses that I can only drink out of one glass. And then now you want me to cook the lobster for dinner and the prime rib. Are you high? So what's going to be in the oven? I don't like.
Her rationales didn't quite add up, did they?
No, and it was annoying the crap out of me. But God bless her.
Honestly, even if you didn't get sick, you get a little snippy whenever you go home.
So, well, I think it is like anyone. I mean, we all get along really, really well, but it's and honestly, it really worked out well. We didn't really know each other too bad. I was always really concerned that I was be one of those patients who are really whiny. And my mom said I wasn't, so that was nice.
She's also your mother, so she could have lied to you. So
Honestly, she wouldn't. I we're a very honest family.
good.
My mom's like, look, you gained 4 pounds. Maybe you should stop eating crackers. Like
You're
that's
lucky
our
like I can
family.
keep in, Mom. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, there was one year she came in to visit and she's like, listen, we need to talk. And I'm like, oh my God, who just died? She's like, I think you've gained about 15 pounds and maybe you should start doing some sit-ups. Like literally,
Oh
my
my
mom said this.
God.
We're very blunt family.
Right. I mean, there is probably more tactful ways to say things.
We have no tact whatsoever.
Apparently.
And I was like, I get it, Pat. And then she's like, I don't want to be mean. And I'm like, well, I get
I
it.
already were.
I mean, my weight does fluctuate sometimes, but I was like,
Everybody's does. Let's be real. We're humans. It's
right.
not just a number that stays in one spot.
I mean, my arms don't really fluctuate.
Yeah. Welcome to the gun show.
Welcome. Even though I haven't worked out a month.
That's
it's
okay.
really weird. I don't understand what to do. Like, I feel like my body doesn't know what to do. It's really weird because I'm not there yet. So anyway, but COVID itself was not fun. And my mom eventually, everything settled down, and we kind of just they just had all these fun marathon movies. Like they had Vacation, European Vacation, Christmas Vacation, and Vegas Vacation. So one day was literally the oeuvre of Chevy Chase. And then the next day was a Lethal Weapon, Lethal Weapon 1, Lethal Weapon 2, Lethal Weapon 3, Lethal Weapon 4. Movies I never thought I really needed to see again were 3 and 4.
Yeah.
But I kind of enjoyed seeing them all in a trajectory. Then it was Men in Black 1, Men in Black 2, Men in Black 3. Thank God no 4. And then Back to the Future 1, Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3. And then we watched Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire. And yes, even Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire. And it was still as bad as I remember. And there was another one that we watched. I forgot what it was.
Well, at least you got some entertainment in while you were there.
It was kind of fun because I never would have done that before, but it was really kind of cool if you're not feeling well to watch a movies in succession like that.
Right.
Because who does it? Oh yeah, there was Die Hard 1, Die Hard 2, and Die Hard 3. So that was
Did you
fun.
do the Harry Potter marathon that they had on HBO? They have all of the movies because they had the special on that's caused a little drama.
Yeah, no, we watched, I think I worked on the last Harry Potter movie. And so that was actually on, and I wanted to watch it again.
You worked on the last Harry Potter movie, and this is the first time I'm hearing this?
You worked on it with me. We did a whole campaign.
Did I?
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah. It was a big campaign. Like it was my favorite. We did a really fun app for it. We created an individual app. It was all trivia.
Oh, but what did we get? A DVD, right?
It was just DVD. We didn't get anything fun.
Oh,
but
okay. Fair.
Yeah,
That's probably why I'm just like,
but the covers were all lenticular, so they had the hairy like. But it was fun to do that. My friend John did some of the international posters, so he created some of those. The one of Maggie Smith where she's pointing the wand. The poster. He did that.
I love her. I saw somebody obviously, with Betty White's passing. Then there's people who are being total asses and posting things like, today Maggie Smith and then woke up in her bed, and I'm like, don't just please don't. Right now, protect these people. Give us, because it's been like one a day this year. There's been some sad losses. Betty White was a lot. I mean, granted, she had an amazing life. She did, but
I'm just like, put Judi Dench in a hermetically sealed room.
Yeah.
I love that woman with a fiery passion because she's amazing. And I'm like, we can't lose Judy. We can't lose the Dench.
No.
We cannot lose the Dench or the Smith,
Right.
So those are icons I just can't say goodbye to just yet.
Yeah. And I mean, this week with Bob Saget, Sidney Poitier.
It's a shock.
Well, yeah, especially he wasn't that old.
No, he was only 60. That's nothing.
65, yeah. Which, I mean, when we were growing up watching him on Full House, he seemed a lot older. Now 65, you're like, okay, yeah, that's not that old.
Well, people are living, more, I mean, like 85, you're like, well,
yeah.
So now 65 is really, really young. It's really sad.
It is.
I mean, I didn't like Full House. Full
Well, I
disclosure.
was the perfect age. Like, I think I was 7 when it came out. So I was like, I watched all the way up. I've watched all of Fuller House, even though I know that one is just total garbage, but it's entertaining garbage. It's one of those just completely turn off your brain. So, I know.
I hated. I hated Dave Coulier with a fiery passion. I couldn't stand him.
Hmm.
That thing, I'm like, oh my god, punch that man in the face.
He wasn't
It's
my
a very
favorite.
wild conversation we're having. This is like not even like
I know we're not talking about movies.
poor Bob Saget. Fuck Dave Coulier. I mean, like, I don't really know where we're going, but it's great to be back.
Oh, welcome back.
I
Welcome back to
know.
2022, where we can't stay on topic ever.
Ever. And it probably will go that way for a very long time.
But you
Um,
know what?
I want to talk to you though, because
Okay.
I'm going to go see Scream
Yes,
this
sir.
week. For the first movie theaters, and I'm still kind of like,
Hmm.
but I've seen every Scream movie in the theater, which we had mentioned before we started recording, and I have to see Scream in the theater.
Yes,
And you saw it.
I saw it last Thursday in theaters, and it's probably the last one I'll see in theaters for a while
Yeah.
because it seems like all of the studios are kind of rolling back press screenings and releases again
Again.
because of the caseloads and all of that. I mean,
Which
when you
sucks because there's so many movies I actually want to see, even though I heard Matrix wasn't what everyone wanted it to be. I haven't seen it yet.
it's okay,
I
but
want to
also
see
not a
it.
huge fan. So
I love my Keanu, as you're aware of.
yeah,
And
everybody's aware of your love of Keanu.
Keanu!
So
And again, I'm only at 85%. I would like to mention that again. So that Keanu probably wasn't as strong as it could have been, but
yeah,
you know,
in the future, you'll yell his name louder, I'm sure.
Keanu. But
But anyway,
I do
well,
want to see. I do want to see. I mean, I have HBO Max. We'll probably end up watching it there because I really wanted to see it on IMAX. But
yeah. That one,
and
honestly,
Kingsman.
I don't know that one needs to be seen in IMAX. Now, we did see Scream in what they call it was the Epic Theater, which is the theater we go to for the screenings version of IMAX, basically.
Oh,
It's one
okay.
of those giant screens, but it was like, I want to say there were about 20 of us, which was a higher number for press screenings,
Mhm.
but we're in a room that seats 500, so we could space way out.
Right. But and the funny thing is, when you see a horror movie, I mean, I remember going to see the first Scream and telling my friend we were dating at the time. I told her, I was like, "Oh, it's a comedy,"
It is.
and it is. It wasn't a lie. It's a comedy where people get slashed to bits, and
Right.
she hated horror movies.
And
So
Scream,
like, are you sure it's a horror movie? Are you sure it's a comedy? Oh yeah, it's a total comedy. And I'm laughing my ass off, loving every second. And she's like crawling up my arm, like just reaching, And I was like, it was really fun.
but I mean, this one, I mean, the only thing that bothers me about it, I mean, is the name Scream. Like,
I don't know why they did that.
I think I don't actually know, because I was going to say I think they're trying to reboot it, but they're not, because it's very self-referential. It makes fun of the movie itself. It makes fun of these reboots. It makes fun of all of that stuff through the movie.
Mhm.
It calls itself a requel. So, because it's a reboot and a sequel, and it brings back the original cast, it brings in new players related to the cast, da, 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 da. But I don't think they're actively trying to reboot the series.
Really?
So,
How was the original cast used? I mean, that was spoilers, obviously. Are they used well?
yeah, they actually are.
That's good. Because
Yeah.
I don't. Every time they tried to bring in new people, like Scream 4, I hated it. I was like,
Well,
no, this isn't good.
they
Except for
make,
Scream 3, because Scream 3, when they brought in Parker Posey, I thought that was genius. Because
of course, because you love Parker Posey.
I love Parker Posey, which we can go on again. But if you watch that movie, she just is, her and Courtney Cox have the best chemistry.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, my Gail Weathers would never do that. She's like, my lawyer liked that not as much as I did. I mean, it was so good. Like,
And
she
that's
just
what
really owned it.
in our house, I believe we have Scream 1 through 3. We do not have 4 because 4 is not as beloved as the others.
And the 4 was fucking dumb.
Well,
And now I
they
had
make
it.
reference to that in the new one when they're making fun of Stab. because they talk about how like when one of the sequels is so far off base from the originals that it loses fans.
It,
No. So they
you
talk
know,
about that stuff.
yeah, because
And
they were
it kind of
supposed to
scares.
in Scream 4, there was supposed to be a new trilogy.
Right.
Scream 4, 5, and 6. And then they were gonna do it where Emma Roberts was the new Sydney.
Okay.
She gets away with it, and then the next Scream, and you find out she gets away with it. She doesn't die. Scream, the next Scream would have been Scream 5, and it would have been about her becoming the new Sydney and someone actually going after her. And then Scream 6 would be her getting caught
Right.
for the Scream 4. And it's kind of fun, but then I was like, and I like Emma Roberts quite a bit.
Right.
She made Scream Queens. She was great in Horror Story Coven, playing that same kind of character, but still, I enjoyed her in those two things, even though I rewatched Scream Queens. It's not good. But she's still really good in it. But it didn't work. The movie didn't work. And these people who are like, the size of a stick trying to kill people, come on, now stop.
I mean, you still have that happening. So keep that in mind. But there's twists in it. Like some of it's very predictable. I mean, they all are to some degree. You can figure it out. It follows the same format as the original. But it's not like there's a couple twists that you won't see until the end. So that I at least appreciated, because there's like this week I screened, last week, I screened 6 movies, and a whole series. And this week has been 2 movies. And one of the movies that I screened last week, I believe is in theaters today as well, which is today's the 14th when we're recording. It's
what is it?
Shattered. Is that what I want?
I should have a song called.
But there's like 3 or 4 other movies that have been named that over the years.
Well, yeah.
So, hold on. Like the cast, I'm not really, it's called Shattered. It's got John Malkovich as the main name in it, although he plays a very small part. Cameron Monaghan
I like him. He's a good actor.
And Frank Grillo and
I like Frank Grillo too.
So, I mean, I like the actors, but it's the psychological thriller. If you watch the trailer, it gives the whole movie away.
Oh.
And I'm like, no, and it was it's predictable, and she's not very, she's playing this femme fatale. It's almost like, it kind of reminded me of Misery, but she's after his money.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, and I mean, some people may find it thrilling, but I was really kind of disappointed.
I'm sorry.
But hey, you know what? Like Jason says, being a film critic sounds like a lot of fun until he listens to some of the crap I watch. And then he's like, yeah, that's not as fun as it sounds. Because I've seen everything.
It's really hard to watch everything. It's really good in terms of a learning. I'm a writer, obviously.
Right.
And to see crap that gets made, you kind of go,
how
did they get budget, and how did these people sign on, and how did they get,
right.
Interesting to.
I'm a little curious, like that one, it has very few sets. It's like 1 or 2 places, maybe 3. And it's just like, I don't know. I would just kind of hope for more if you're billing it as a psychological thriller, and even the twist they show in the trailer. I was like, why am I going to spend 2 hours watching a movie when I can watch a 2-minute trailer and get the whole story?
Right.
So that, there's something.
Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
What's that?
Speaking of twists, I wanted to ask you,
yes, sir,
about something we both love.
Yes, sir.
And that is a little TV show called Dexter.
Yeah. Did you finish it?
Oh yeah, I did. I was super excited. I watched because I was sick. I couldn't keep up in real time, unfortunately, but I caught up. I think I did watch 4 episodes on the plane, which actually was perfect.
On the plane?
Yeah, it was perfect because it was. I really got into it on the plane. I mean, I liked the new reboot. I would like to point out.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed it. I think they rushed it a little bit. I don't think plotting wise, looking back, the ending was rushed, and I don't think he would have been found out. And it was a little too convenient in some level.
And I think so.
I don't know. Like the police chief, they kept saying how what a good cop she was. I'm like, oh, she ain't gonna catch her. But
Well, it's also taken her 25 years to solve one case.
I know. I'm like, are
And
you a
okay,
good cop?
so the Kurt guy with his bunker of bodies,
Right.
okay,
That are,
sorry, spoilers.
yeah,
I understand there's no service out where his cabin was, all of that. How did you get that built?
right.
Like, it's not, I mean, you could have them buried in your yard and you could say, okay, I'm making my own shelter for, emergencies and tornadoes or whatever. And he could have built the body cases and all of that. Um, but there's so many things. And one thing while we were watching the final episode, I was talking to
Right.
Jason and I was like, okay, so somebody delivered that envelope with those pins to her front door.
Right.
What is that by her front door? That's a doorbell cam.
Yeah.
She's a cop. She can record and go back and see who dropped that off.
Right. And that whole thing was dumb, in
And
my
it's
humble opinion.
circumstantial because,
So
okay,
circumstantial.
somebody dropped that off and then this is found in his house. Do you
In
have
the ashes of his house. And would
Right.
they really find a screw?
Well, and even if she did find it, the heat would take away any fingerprints. It would take away everything. It's all circumstantial.
Yeah, I mean, like, it all kind of felt dumb in some level. Like, that was stupid. I was like, oh, come on, you just want to tie it up. And honestly, I felt like this series needed 2 seasons to
It
get
did.
where they went.
And they honestly, they misused Baptista. They should have had him come.
Really?
Like he was just there for a little side conversation here and there just to fill in information to justify what she was saying.
And would, it's a little convenient that she suddenly ran into him
Right.
at this thing, and then
It's almost like it was written that way.
And then let me tell you, when I saw him come back, I was so excited.
Right.
But I don't remember him. I don't remember him in the original series because he was friends with Dexter. I don't remember him in the original at the end thinking Dexter was the murderer.
No, but I do remember that Guerta had said to him that she thought it was someone else. I don't know that she claimed or said it was Dexter because she was keeping that close to her chest because she didn't want people to know. But
I don't think he ever suspected him.
No, but him showing up, when he's supposed to be dead and he's showing up on the other side of the country and the same things are happening. But
are they happening?
No, because she didn't have proof. Like there were a couple, and I told Jason, I said the injection site thing, they're going to create the same mark. It's not like a needle specific.
The needle. It's not a needle specific. And the ketamine didn't really add up to me that it would be based. The Bay Harbor butcher took bodies, cut them into pieces,
Correct.
And put them in the river.
Right. Because
right.
He was stupid and didn't put them in the Gulf Stream.
Right. Which I mean was great when the whole original series of Dexter, seasons 1 through 5, I'm going to include 5, were some of the best TV ever done. 6, 7, and 8. 8 was unwatchable. 6 and 7 were fine, but they weren't 4. I think 5 was still pretty damn good considering.
So
Johnny Lee Miller was really good. It petered out at the end. Oh God.
I know. And I think fans are having a similar kind of reaction to this ending because while I understand it,
I think they needed to do it. I don't think they needed to do it now. I think
fans want more. And I know the directors have said that if they're asked for another season, they're more than willing to do it.
Right.
Which could be interesting to see the story continue on.
But I get with Harrison. I actually thought as an actor, that kid did a really good job. I was really impressed. And I thought I'd hate him because that's a really hard character to pull off.
Right.
The whiny kid who hates Dexter, who you like Dexter, and you've lived with, and that's tough. And he pulled it off really, really well.
He did.
I'd watch it if he, and Dexter being the hairy part. I get it.
Right.
But
that's the thing. Would it be him or would it even be Rita?
No, it couldn't be Rita. He didn't know Rita.
Well, he did until he was, he remembers her death supposedly. So, it's an interesting concept if they're able to do it and they can bring it back again.
Well, did you notice at the end? I don't know if you noticed. There was a spot where he was yelling at Dexter and he turns and he goes, "Shut up!" And he turned back to him. It was super fast, but there was a moment like he was talking to somebody else, like Dexter does, and he turned back, and it was a split second, and I was like, "Oh, interesting." They set it up.
No, I did not notice that, but that is
If you
interesting.
go rewatch the ending, you'll see
Yeah.
it. And it
Okay.
was really kind of interesting. I loved how they used Jennifer Carpenter in this
I
season.
loved her in that spot.
She was great. They used her in a perfect way. It was just enough.
Right.
And Deb was crazy just because Deb was crazy as a character. And they let it happen, and they reeled her, and they used her perfectly.
They really did. And I know we've said it before, but you know that she was having so much fun doing that.
Yeah, she was great. It
You
was
know,
great to see her again.
total
Um,
crazy.
yeah, the wood chipper scene still is one of my favorite moments where she's just like and the wood chipper like
Right.
in his head.
So
But in the
I
end,
don't
where she
know.
has his hand, I thought that was really nice.
Right.
I do feel like the whole time I'm watching, going, they just rushed through all of this. They
It-
would not have put these pieces together this fast.
no. She couldn't put
And
together the missing friend and with the killer living around the block.
you couldn't
So
put together all the missing girls. And
right.
then, and I'm sorry, anyone that met that Kirk guy was like creepy. And
Right.
then all of a sudden she's like, I didn't even know he had a cabin in the woods. I'm like,
That's the thing. Like if you didn't know he had this
how do
cabin in
you
the woods,
not know there? But they would have had to excavate the entire
yeah.
area. Trees would have, I mean, there's no way the trees could have
Even
grown around
the
there.
under part of the cabin with the hotel room down
Yeah.
the creepy hall, you know, I did kind of enjoy, that the podcaster ended up on his list, that he did go back and get her. I mean, not that for that character, but I really love true crime podcasts,
Uh-huh.
but the way that she was inserting herself goes against everything. Every one of those podcasts, she ignored her gut feelings.
Yeah.
So, she turned into the perfect victim.
Yeah, I like that she was in there. I mean, I thought it
Yeah.
was fun. And I mean, I liked a lot of it. I just thought
I think it was,
it
we
was another,
wanted more.
this was like 2 seasons.
Right.
And that was my problem.
It was enough to whet our taste, but not enough to satisfy.
Yeah. I mean, because the whole town was done so well.
It really was.
Great job of setting it up. And I think the whole plot could have been fine, but I wanted to see Dexter really showing Harrison like Harry did.
Right.
Harry didn't just die and then show up as a ghost.
No. And
In the
because the knowledge
flashback,
won't
you
be there.
saw him. Yeah, you saw him teaching and the sheeting, and that it's just too much that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
That's going to be too difficult.
So,
And I don't really think he would have shot him, even if he killed. I don't think Harrison would have shot him.
no, I think he would have, because he was still at this point that he wants to do it for justice.
Right.
And finding out what Dexter did or what he does, and finding out that it wasn't all justice for him.
Right.
Once he kills the coach, I think that
which we all saw coming. Come on now.
yeah, you don't get that close to somebody who suspected the murder. Just a thought. But I think honestly for me it was like, okay, I understand why he's doing it, but I don't think that unless that is his turning point or the thing that they're going to use to pivot him into just killing when he wants. That could be his origin story, other than Rita and everything else that he's had before. That could be the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right. I just kind of felt like, at the end, I was like, no.
So I want to talk to you about a new series. You haven't seen it yet, I'm guessing. It comes on Hulu at the end of the month.
Well, if it's coming out, I haven't seen it.
Yes. Okay. So it's the series that I looked at the name and my first thought was, who asked for this? That Pam and Tommy series. When did you move to LA?
It was a long time ago.
Okay, but was it after 2000 or before?
I think it was right around there.
Okay. So when this all happened, like I was young enough when the whole sex tape came out that and the internet was young enough. So it was, it was something that we couldn't easily find, even if we knew how to at that point. All I remember, what's that? You have it?
I found it. Please.
Okay. So I
love a good sex tape. What can I say?
There you go. But when it came out and all of this was happening, like I remember the media circus happening about it. Now, the series is actually from mostly their perspective. Now, if we're talking late 90s, when this all happens, Pamela Anderson is called a slut and all this other stuff because this
Right.
happens. When I finished, like, okay, so first I started out and said, who needs this? 5 minutes in, I am hooked.
Really?
Okay, so there's some really bizarre ass stuff in that show, but it's got Seth Rogen, it's got Nick Offerman, Lily Allen, I think it is playing Pamela Anderson, and Sebastian Stan is
Lily,
playing
and
Tommy.
not the singer Lily Allen.
Let me double check this. Pam and Tommy. Cast. Lily James. There we go.
I was like, I don't think the Smile singer is.
It's been a while. But anyway, they are so good in their roles. And it just changes how you see this whole situation. But it is total, like, it's total binge-worthy train wreck.
Oh.
And it is like watching it, it changes how we perceive what happened. But at the same time, like seeing it through today's lens, and I know we've said this with other shows and movies we've watched, when you see it through today's lens, it's completely different.
Yeah.
And seeing what actually happened, well, what actually, air quotes on that, happened, it's very interesting. So that one comes out, I want to say, in a couple weeks, next week.
Ooh, I'll check it out.
And it's definitely like, there's 8 episodes and I binged them all in one day.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, who needs this? And then 5 minutes in, I'm like I said, there's some really bizarre things. Like some of the prosthetics are very bizarre. You'll see. So, but definitely put that one on your radar.
Okay. Well, I do love those true story series that can really dive in. The American Crime Story, when they did the OJ trial, I remember that going, why would anyone want to see that? Why do you want to relive this?
Right.
Watched one episode, I'm like,
right.
It's amazing.
Right.
Why am I so riveted by that? I mean, besides the fact that Sarah Paulson was so good.
She's so good in anything. But I mean, there's some of these shows, like I watch true crime stuff and all that all the time. All right. Some of these things I'm just like, nobody needs to know the story behind a sex tape.
Yeah.
But then you watch it and you go, holy crap, this is actually an interesting story. Now, apparently Pamela Anderson is not very happy that this is coming out.
Oh.
So it'll be interesting once it actually comes out, what happens or what
was real and what wasn't real. And
right. So, and I don't know that we'll ever truly know what was real because, she wants it to go away, as I'm sure any woman would.
Yeah.
But I mean, Sebastian Stan, he just disappears into Tommy Lee, which is.
I never thought Sebastian Stan was a very good actor. Honestly, I like looking at him because he's pretty.
Oh yeah, he's gorgeous.
But in reality, I mean, like I always thought Winter Soldier was the most boring character in the MCU. I hated Falcon and Winter Soldier, the series. I just thought it was boring as a dog. But yeah, I really thought coming after WandaVision, which I thought was revolutionary. I loved it. WandaVision was so good.
But there's so many people dislike WandaVision because they just couldn't get past like the first episode. We loved it.
Silly.
But
WandaVision was breakthrough.
Okay.
Uniqueness. And then they come out with Falcon Winter Soldier, which was formulaic and boring.
Okay, I didn't mind Falcon and Winter Soldier. But I think each one, and they have their own kind of spin. Like this past Hawkeye one. Have you got through Hawkeye?
Well, because I was sick, I didn't see it yet.
Okay.
I'm going to. I heard it's really good.
We enjoyed it. I'm just interested if you didn't like Falcon and Winter Soldier because it's taking Hawkeye and he's the whole family guy and it kind of plays that hard. And it's also the first one that came out since Eternals. So, Eternals had the first gay couple, gay kiss, first sex scene, all of that. What's that?
I haven't seen Eternals yet.
That's on Disney Plus now. So go watch it. But then they went hard the other way with the big family man and So it almost seems like a little overcorrection. But I mean, I like Hawkeye and I like, it was still a good series, but it was kind of more fluff than the other ones have been.
Interesting. Well, when I watched Falcon Winter Soldier, I was like, oh, it's a great idea. Let's put the two most boring characters in MCU together and be like, oh, hey, let's put them together and team them up so it could be like watching Beige. And that's literally what I felt like watching it. I was like, oh, look, it's Beige. Oh, look, there is an action sequence. That's Beige. It's
I enjoy it.
all boring. And I was really kind of annoyed by it. And to a point where it made me not like Loki. I didn't like Loki either. Um,
Really?
Loki was really boring. I thought Tom Hiddleston was trying his damnedest to make it interesting. Um,
I'm still, the only thing like Owen Wilson in that, and even in Eternals, just the cast list. I'm like, who isn't in Marvel now?
right.
That's my
It's like
thing. It's like everybody's in Marvel. Why
Julie
aren't
Louis Dreyfus is in Marvel now. Let's
right?
all stop. Who I love her, but really,
Everybody's in Marvel.
yeah.
It's not special
So
anymore.
it's not special anymore. And but I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm just kind of burned out, I guess. It's like I didn't see Shang-Chi. I didn't see.
That one's so good.
I hear it's good. I want to see
Yeah.
it. I haven't seen Shang-Chi, and I haven't seen Eternals, and I haven't seen. There's
We
one
haven't
more.
seen Spider-Man yet,
I haven't seen Spider-Man yet, and I haven't seen. I still want to say Kingsman, but
which I enjoyed, and apparently a lot of other critics did not.
yeah, people. It was really mixed. I mean, it was a worse time to release it because people weren't going
Yeah,
to the theaters except for Spider-Man because people felt bad to see it. But which I get because you have Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and all the Spider-Mans together.
they
I mean,
absolutely played just to fans for that movie, though.
yeah, if I wasn't, on the couch dying, I probably would have went to the theaters as well by myself to see it if that
Right. But I mean, like, okay, so if we're gonna talk Kingsman, I liked that it kind of stood on its own. So it has hints of the original ones,
Uh-huh.
and it has like it makes me want to go back and watch the original ones to see if those things line up.
Mm.
Like it's the forming of it, but it's also it goes through history and it's actual events in history. So the history nerd that I am really enjoyed that because
Yeah,
they're actually portraying things properly. But then you don't have the tech and the exploding heads with the confetti coming out of them and all that shit.
I love that
But
shit.
I know I love those movies, but I really enjoyed it. But it sets it up so they can go back in time and do other ones up until the original one.
Which was
So,
fun.
for me, I liked that.
Yeah.
Apparently, a lot of other people do not.
Mm.
So, but I find even like there's two or three guys from our film critics group that really dislike the new Scream movie.
Oh,
But then one of my friends in the group, she's way into horror. She loved it. So it's this weird. I mean, it's all personal anyhow.
well, yeah. I mean, it's like, I just saw before, I mean, maybe a month or so before the break, the impeachment show
Yeah.
with Sarah Paulson and Beanie Fieldstein, whatever her name is. Like, I hated it. I thought it was
Really?
awful. I absolutely hated it. I thought it was boring, and I thought every one of these characters is awful. And I don't know why I hated that, but loved OJ. But what the difference was because Sarah
Right.
Paulson was still really good as Linda Tripp. She was the highlight.
Right.
The other girl, Beanie Fieldstein, whatever her name is, I thought she was awful. She just was whiny, and she wasn't. I was like, she played her really dumb, which I guess
Right.
maybe she was. I don't know, but I was so annoyed by it. I was like, I'm gonna power through this. But I thought it was awful. Even to the end, I was like, oh, it
But
was
see,
really bad.
and that's one of those things that I would never watch. But it's like some of those things that I mean, it kind of goes back to like the Pam and Tommy thing. Some of the topics, like, and we worked on one of these movies together. There's some topics I will never touch and I will never watch. And I told you at the time I was not going to even watch the movie. I don't want to watch anything about 9/11.
Oh yeah,
Never. I witnessed as it happened, obviously from afar, but watched things happen before they put a 5-second loop on the TV. And I don't
yeah.
need to watch this on a movie. So there's some things like that movie, and I mean, there's been 2 or 3 movies about it now. And I
Mhm.
understand some people need it. No, I am the opposite. Please never know. you know, I do not want to work on that. It's just there's some topics that they can go away. Or one of the movies that got a lot of attention and a lot of award buzz, Mass. I don't want to
Oh
watch
yeah.
any. I have a copy of it. I cannot bring myself to watch it because
Yeah.
especially we just had a school shooting here.
I 100% agree. It was funny because I thought it was about church.
Yeah.
And then
When somebody
I
told
was
me
like,
what it was
oh,
about,
look, priests are molesting kids or something. Okay, I could handle that. And then I found out it was a mass shooting. No, I
no,
was out. I couldn't see. And the cast was great. I
oh,
mean,
the
I love
cast is
Ann Dowd.
fantastic. But
And by the way, was so good as Mrs. Garrett. If you watched it, did you watch the live in front of the studio audience?
no.
My God, she was Mrs. Garrett. She was so good. So good.
I do not tend to watch the live type, like the reboot or the live table reads and all that stuff. It's just not, one, we also stream everything, but two, it's not my type of thing. I'm just kind of like,
Facts of Life, man, was one of my favorite shows.
because like even like we have the Broadway and Detroit shows are actively going on, and like the announcements are up on my site and all of that. I have yet to return to that theater because that's too many people. But I would love to see live stuff live, not on TV, because
It's kind of fun. I mean, I don't know, but she was so good in as Mrs. I would like to just shout out to Ann Dowd, who is one of the sweetest women in the entire world, and so good on Handmaid's Tale. So I was like, oh, this cast. I mean, you had Jason Isaacs, Ann Dowd, Martha Plimpton even was really good. I was like, ooh, yay. And then I went, oh no.
Right. And it's weird because like
this.
we got all of our FYC, well, not all of them, because occasionally one still comes in, the DVDs about that time. And we were having our film critic days and watching, however many 14 movies in 2 days or whatever it was in theaters. And that's the same day that the school shooting happened here locally.
Oof.
And then somebody told me what that's about. And I was like, no, I mean, I was still in high school when Columbine happened.
Right.
So, for me, and even I think Bowling for Columbine, there were kids in my school that were actually featured in it because there was a kid in my school who came to prom in traditional Scottish clothing, including a kilt, and he had the traditional dagger. Apparently they asked him for it, he gave it to them, and then they expelled him. We won't discuss. Yeah. So he was actually featured in that. I was friends with his older sister and brother. He was actually featured in that movie because the extreme reactions that were still happening a year or two after the case, after Columbine happened. So, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of that director, but we're not going to go into that. Michael Moore
I think Michael Moore,
he's very polarizing.
Very polarizing. I mean, I like what he did with was it Roger and Me about Flint?
Yes. And I understand the reason he does these things. I do, but I think the issue I have, I mean, especially him being so, he's local.
Yeah.
But it's very much his opinion, and that's the only one that matters.
Yes.
It's not very
one-sided. It's completely one-sided. Not that there's two sides to Flint. I can't really imagine it.
Well, especially now with water crisis, that still is happening. Let's bring it
still happening. I mean, is Flint done yet?
Like, no, my friends that live there, they can't sell their house. They still have bottled water because they don't have drinkable water.
See, that's ridiculous.
And it's how many years later? 7 or 8 years?
Ridiculous.
And what's worse, I mean, I don't necessarily think it's worse. I mean, what's just as bad, half of Michigan's infrastructure, like water infrastructure, is just as bad. There are lines in our area, in my town, that have tested the same level, if not higher than Flint.
What?
Yeah, we have a water dispensing system that actually I got right before lockdown. It was for a paid campaign, but I have jugs of water delivered every couple months because we prefer bottled water. Our water, our lines in our neighborhood are safe. But yeah, it's a major issue. And it's all, if you look at the state of Michigan, if you look at the lead levels in the water lines, there's huge spikes all over the state. It's not just Flint. Flint got screwed. Let's be real.
Yeah.
The Detroit water system, oddly, is one of the best in the state. Our water, we switched to bottled water because of our water tasted very chlorinated. And we didn't like that. I still cook with it. We still shower with it.
Right.
But drinking water, what I'm drinking all the time, that comes from a dispenser, and it's Ice Mountain, which comes from up north in Michigan and is purified. So,
Ice Mountain.
But if Flint is still, people can't sell their house. You can't sell your house.
Yeah.
And the price values, I mean, people talk about the values in Detroit.
Yeah.
Flint, you have to walk away. You can't, but then at the same time, you can't walk away from your job. You can't walk away from your family. You can't,
Right.
There's too many factors going on, and the state hasn't fixed it.
Wow. That's actually shocking.
It is, but it's not.
When I lived in downriver where the white trash flows,
yes, sir.
I remember they tested our water in Lincoln Park.
Uh-huh.
And I remember them finding the lead levels.
Yeah.
And we had a renter upstairs at a duplex. And I told her, and she's like, well, I boil my water for the baby. She's a baby. And I went, that's not going to help you with lead, FYI. But whatever. I was obligated to tell her because we got it tested.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, so FYI.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's horrible and sad and a reality still. And then most people, I mean, we are extremely lucky. One, I was lucky to have that campaign right before the lockdown happened. So
yeah,
I had already, I was filling up the water or whatever, and I found a place and had some delivered before lockdown happened because nobody could even get bottled water.
Wow.
The stores were cleared, and it's happening again because everybody's starting to kind of batten down the hatches, and hopefully, last time, but we'll find out.
Wow.
So, I mean, aren't we a nice, depressing talking podcast?
I know, it was random topics. Today. Welcome to Random Topics. I'm joined by Miss Becky Fabulous Fixel, and we're gonna go everything from Scream to Flint, Michigan. But that's
important topics. I mean, both are very important topics. Which, okay, back to Scream real quick. This is the first one that Wes Craven didn't direct, obviously, since he is no longer with us.
Yes, and Kevin Williamson didn't write it. Is that correct?
I believe.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
I know 4 was weird. I'm not sure if Kevin Williamson is credited, but I do know that there was a lot of things on that movie that were wrong. So I don't know.
If you want to talk about the credited thing, I mean, the movies we've been supposed to talk about for about a month, these John Hughes ones. There's the new Home Alone 5 or whatever the hell it is on Disney Plus, Home Sweet Home Alone. That one's credited to him, and he's dead too, because it's based off his characters.
Yeah.
Well, based off his formula. And it does have 2 of his characters, although one of them is now in jail. But the guy who played Buzz got arrested, turned himself in for assault.
Wow, I never liked.
Really were out of it. You really.
I was so out of it. I never liked the Home Alone movies anyway. But no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that happened right by Christmas. He turned himself in for domestic abuse, I believe.
Oh,
alleged. I'll say alleged because everybody gets a benefit of the doubt until it's proven.
All right.
Or at least they're supposed to legally. So
I don't believe in that, but yeah, it's true. I mean, I think it's impossible that you look at someone and say, oh, you're innocent until proven guilty. It's completely impossible in this day and age.
It is. But at the same time, you have to legally say that. So because then they get the fair day in court, because everybody, even with whatever happened at the school here, people complain that it says allegedly on the little news post and Facebook post. Right. We know he did it, but they can't say he did it conclusively until the thing is done in court. Stupid, but
it is what it is.
It is.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, yes. All right. Well, we just jumped to 17 topics, and that's awesome because welcome to 2022.
Hope maybe someday we'll stay on topic.
Thank you both for joining us on unpaidmoviecritics.com. Hi, Grandma. And next week maybe we'll stick to our topic, but I doubt it because
probably not.
We always talk about. But that's part of the fun. I mean, if you just want to hear
randomness,
go somewhere else. Which you probably are. So yay. Anyway, thank you for joining us. We will be back hopefully next week, and no one gets sick.
No one's getting sick.
please stay safe out there. And
It's
if
really
you,
crazy.
it's really crazy. And if you do end up getting sick, please stay hydrated.
Rest.
Follow the advice of your doctors, and make sure you get a lot of rest, because this thing isn't a joke. I just went through it. So
Which is
thank you.
unfortunate. So we will be back hopefully next week. And hopefully we'll have some more actual movie reviews. And Mike can tell us what he thinks of Scream as well as Pam and Tommy, if he gets to see it by then.
I don't think I'll see Pam and Tommy though, but I will.
I don't remember what day it comes out. I'll post it in the thing. I'm not sure.
Sounds good.
All right. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.